Joining me now in the studio is Ahmad al Nouq. He's a journalist and also the co-founder of We Are Not Numbers. That's an outlet focused on letting young Gazans tell their stories. Ahmad, welcome to our studio. So much is happening right now and has happened in the past 72 hours. Israel right now is bombing southern Lebanon. Given what Israel is doing in Lebanon, where do you think this leaves Israel's war on Gaza?
Well, I think, first, thank you for having me. I think Israel wants to keep its military presence in Gaza, no matter what happens on the northern borders with Lebanon. But at the same time, it's in Israel's interests to keep the war flaring in the north. This is what the government says. The Israelis want to flare the borders with Lebanon. They want to destroy Hezbollah, and they think that they can get away with it. Unfortunately, Israel doesn't want to have this war on its own. They want to have the West and the America support them in their fight against Hezbollah and in Lebanon. Unfortunately, the situation is very bleak. They're going to keep their boots on the grounds in Gaza, and at the same time, they're going to do a military invasion to Lebanon very soon.
You feel that that's what's going to happen? They're going to invade Lebanon?
I think this is the plan.
And, you know, we felt, it looked like there was so much movement with regards to diplomacy in the past few weeks. Any room for diplomacy now for that ceasefire in Gaza?
What diplomacy?
Exactly, what diplomacy?
What
diplomacy? I mean, well, the back and forth of ceasefire talks.
No, it was all a scam. My honest opinion, I believe that it's all a scam. It has always been a scam. Mm-hmm. The West was not ever interested in having a peace talks in Gaza. They did not want to have a ceasefire in Gaza. And by the way, secretly, the European Union, leaders from the European Union would go to Israel and they would beg them to keep on the fight in Gaza. The West, America, unfortunately, they do not want to have a ceasefire in Gaza. If they wanted to have a ceasefire in Gaza, they would have enforced it from day one. America and the West have the power to stop the war in Gaza, but they're not interested. Unfortunately, diplomacy doesn't work here because the superpowers, the West and Israel, and those who support them, they do not want a ceasefire. If they wanted a ceasefire, we would have seen a ceasefire a long time ago. So there's no room for diplomacy because it doesn't really exist when the Palestinians are the victims, unfortunately.
And the court of public opinion, the moral position of Israel, do you feel it's changing? For example, the resolution that was adopted yesterday by the UN Security Council, non-binding, demanding Israel end its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territories within a year.
Well, even if it was binding, Israel will not listen. There was a resolution from the Security Council a few months ago, and it was binding, but Israel did not listen to these resolutions because Israel thinks it has all the impunity it needed. It doesn't need to listen to the West as long as America is supporting Israel. Israel thinks it is above the law. Israel is above the law, unfortunately. And as long as we have the West, the US and the UK and Europe supporting Israel blindly, unfortunately, Israel will keep on
You can stop Netanyahu right now because he hasn't listened to the US at all. And right now, you know, we're coming into election, well, in just a few months.
I don't think actually that Netanyahu doesn't listen to the US. I think that the US is not really interested in asking and demanding Netanyahu to stop whatever he's doing. The US is not serious.
Is that because defending Israel is so intrinsically inside the DNA of America?
Of course.
What next after October the 7th, when we mark 1 year now of Israel's war on Gaza? Does it continue?
I hope it ends, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to end very soon. Unfortunately, Israel and the West wants to keep Israel involved in Gaza. They want to keep the Israeli soldiers' boots in Gaza. Israel wants to keep its military, their military boots in Gaza. And unfortunately, this is going to continue unless there is like pressure, real pressure from superpowers to stop Israel.
And, you know, I spoke to a UNICEF spokesperson today, you know, more than 10,000 children killed in Gaza, and he said there is such a disproportionate response from the international community, even to children killed. He said, we feel hopeless. When you hear organisations like that, and I know you tell your organisation, you work with an organisation telling the stories of Gazan people, but just that death toll, that hopelessness, why is it like this?
We need to ask ourselves why there is hopelessness. Why Israel is so above the law? Why all the world can't stop Israel? Why yesterday we saw that the United Nations General Assembly voted, like more than 160 countries voted for ending Israel illegal occupation in Gaza. The world has spoken. Why can't anyone pressure Israel, stop Israel, force Israel to end its military occupation in Gaza, to end its siege and blockade and wars and the killing of children in Gaza? We need to understand, we need to ask ourselves this question. And also,
why is there that hopelessness? Because you're asking that today when even UN, UNICEF asking, we feel hopeless.
Well, I think this is proven to us that the UN and the international community, the international law, have failed. They all have failed because this was a test to humanity. This was a test to the UN resolutions, the UN legitimacy, the international community, and they all have failed the Palestinian people. And they also have failed their own laws and their own regulations. All of them failed in Gaza, unfortunately.
And our own humanity.
And they have failed the humanity.
Ahmad al Nouq, thank you very much indeed for coming in today on TRT World. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.